Hi everyone, welcome back into the studio. Well, I've been promising you for a long time to introduce you to some of the westerns that I do paint. And I don't film them very often. I absolutely love painting. They're kind of like my day off type of painting. But I thought, yeah, we'll do one for you. And I'm gonna do a little Christmas story here with it. So I've started to sketch out on this one. And I'm going to put the cowboy up here. I'm thinking of putting him on a palomino. And there's going to be a nice Christmas tree and all these other trees and stuff back behind there. Some mountain snow. A good holiday one for you to paint. Those you want to try Western. Now, this one's up pretty big. This is a 20-inch by a 24-inch one. I have the perfect spot in my den to put this in, so I'm going to paint this up for myself here, and I think it would be great for the holidays. But what I do when I do a Western, and I put another one back up over there, that I like the Westerns to have a story. So when you're looking at it, there's something that's going on. I just don't paint, a rider and a horse and a bunch of cows or anything like that. I like to tell some type of story. So story is important to me. The techniques that I use, all the Prima, Premier Coup, some of the grisaille layering, I do that sometimes. Those are also very important to me. And, size-wise, everything. And what I do, generally, like I did right up here, and I know you can barely see it, but what I did up right there is I took 6 different photos, kind of on Photoshop, and put them together and kind of give myself a nice visualization of the story, what I think the story is going to be. And this is going to be the horse and the rider searching for a Christmas tree. And, so I put that all together in Photoshop, and then I go find the elements that I really do want to paint in there, like this palomino that I got from Adobe Stock and stuff. I love the coloring on this palomino, and so I'll paint that palomino into there. And so that's basically how I do it, okay? So for the palette that I use, I'm going to use my standard YouTube palette. I did also add out some ultramarine blue to it so I can get some violets, because I'm thinking I'm going to be painting a lot of warms and cools. I'm a temperature painter, a lot of warms and cools, and I really want to get some violets, especially go up against that palomino. So I'm going to plan my light source as it comes in here. I want the light coming in from the left, so you can see I've kind of shadowed down this side of him here. And so what that'll do is put a mountain shadow of cool right behind him. This front edge of him will be into the light. We'll get a lot of visual depth through that. So I plan my lights. I plan that right into the sketch that I'm doing and how I'm going to put it all together. So, so since I want to do violets, I put out a lot of ultramarine blue. But this is Hansa, diarylide, yellow oxide, naphtha red light, burnt sienna, pine green, phthalo blue, ultramarine blue, quinacridone violet, the red violet, and my titanium white. I will be using open medium and some of the different mediums with it, but not during this initial stage, so I'm not even going to put it out right now. I'm going to do a block in. This is stage 1. This is a block in. I'm going to try to keep this pretty much acrylic so that it dries pretty fast, because I don't always just paint a larger one like this all the time. I like certain areas to dry. Okay, you ready to go? Let's go to it. So I'm going to start out with a 1-inch fusion brush here, and I'm going to use water. And I'm going to take some white down. I want to set the sky first. I'm a big advocate of setting your what I consider the background in a landscape, or in this Western here. And this is listening a few years ago to one of my favorite Western painters. He says, who would not want to paint Westerns? I mean, you get the opportunity to paint a landscape and animals and portraits all in the same painting, and that's what makes them a lot of fun. And they are a lot of fun. Let's keep this slightly to the blue-green here, and maybe cool it with just a touch of that violet, but not yet to leave the blue-greens here. Just a bit of that blue-green. I'm going to model this all up. I want this, though, to start out, about right there. So I'm looking right now at about a value 7. So you're going to watch me kind of, and I'm going to take this right down into my mountains here a bit. You're going to watch me kind of create the painting here as I get going. So I don't always copy stuff, photos and stuff. I learned through my training as an artist when I was a decorative painter. We built things on the fly. We built things just as we go. So I'm not afraid to, not have very many references and stuff to look at here, to just start painting. And especially, and this, for some of you that are younger artists, this will come to you. There's certain things you have to answer when you're going to be painting a painting. Is the color, the technique, and the drawing. And of course the drawing you can get from, picking out some elements. He's an element. Him and the rider and the horse are an element. The tree's an element. These trees are an element. The background mountains are an element. So I find ones, you can find some ideas, put those together. And then it's color and technique, I feel, is very important, for doing that. And those are all elements that you can learn. Now, I'm going to put a little bit of what we call the atmosphere into there. So right along some of the lower part of the horizon here, I'm going to put in just model in a little bit more white. I don't like the blue to be just sterile, especially if it's a snow scene. So like this is going to have a lot of snow in it. So I'd like some other little touches of color to be back up there through the mountains, and that will help them really kind of save the snow. Now, we're going to I'm going to start with the mountains and come forward here, okay? So what I want to do is I want to, my light's going to come in from the left, which means my mountains here are going to be basically highlighted from the left shadow to the right. So I'm going to make a nice warmer snow. Now generally when I make a lot of snow, I usually paint with a Paranode orange, but I wanted to paint this with my YouTube palette. So I don't have any Paranode orange, but I'll make this a little bit more orange. The lighter, warmer snow, and like on tops of mountains and stuff like that, is actually, if you look at it a lot, like I have in living into the mountains for so many years, it's really just a bit more orange. And so I'm going to come into here, use just the edges of my brush, and I'm going to be putting in the light warmth to this side of the mountain here, and we'll kind of take some of this out and add the coolness to it and add more lights and stuff to it. But there's going to be mountains back through here. Right up through here I'm going to put mostly into the shadow. I could maybe put a hit of the yellow up there. But I want to keep this a little bit warmer and stuff because I'm going to be painting a Palomino, and later on I want that color to travel right on down here into the Palomino. So I'm a constant, those of you that watch me and watch the channel all the time, I'm always talking to you about harmony. I'm a harmony painter. I love to paint harmony. I love to carry my colors across and do different things. I'm going to go down to a 3/4 inch brush here. And so this is my warm snow. Now I'm going to take not pure white, and I'm going to gray this just a bit, not pure white here. And I'm going to put some lights right across some of that snow, some what we call the reflected part of the lights, the shinier parts of the mountains back there here. And I'm just going to drag my brush so this will come up and shadow, and then we'll plan another light hit for this side. So left side of your hills all the way here will have some of the lights there, and we're going to keep this very simplistic, very, very simplistic here. And we'll go back and forth on that just a bit. Now with the lights, you don't see it quite so much. It's the shadows that build everything. So here's my sky. Let's go back with a little bit of sky. Touch ultramarine. Don't really want to do that. Let's go into the violet now. A little bit more violet. Okay. We're going to go to the back part of that mountain. So a little bit of violet here in this. And again, I want to keep it kind of light around my 7s and so there's a good violet. But we also want to dirty this down. So violets you can dirty down with a bit of yellow that we're in without warming it up too much. See how the yellow will dirty it down, gray it down a bit. And so that's a good color to kind of, will come down here. You can see that's a bit dark for what I want, but for starting it out here like this, it's not too bad. I can push that into some other colors. And I'm painting more than anything else. I paint for color. like I told you in some of my florals and stuff like that, I paint a lot for color. And I watch color usage and stuff like that. Let's lighten that up a bit and put a touch of that right down over here. I'm going to go to a little bit like an 8 or a 10. This is an 8 brush. So, and the reason why I want to do that, because I want to set it down like this and get a little more movement to my colors here as I pull those across there. Okay. So we'll grab some of this, not quite as dark as I did over there, and we'll drop some of the ideas of the hills here, just kind of drag that through. It's got snow tops there under the mountains. And again, this is kind of just a quick, what I call it, just a quick look at them, and we'll refine them depending upon how much we do with our, how much refinement we do is depending on how, our painting starts to come along here. So we'll just put some of that down. I'm going to grab a little thinner color here and just kind of pull that right through there. And see, I like to have lots of color crossing the modeling, especially if it's in the back. So we do it real quick. I don't want to use it. You don't want to use a palette knife or anything like that if you want these things to recede. The palette knife gives a lot of, the painting knives and stuff just give a lot of interest, and you got to be a little bit careful with some of that interest here. So, I'm going to come back like this, especially after it's dry, and just add the little bits of interest that you would find here on a mountain. Some slightly lighter receding areas and stuff here. This is a receding plane. So you have the light struck plane, receding plane that's going down to the shadow, darker planes here on the mountain. We'll play some of that. Go back up here to our light again and just add a bit here. And I eventually want to be able to add lots of light interest and stuff here. Pulling through these guys. But we'll get there. But sometimes you see me use the flat of the brush here, which is a very, what do we call, a granulated look, and I love it. It breaks up, everything. So in other words, like if I pull it right down through here, it gets a granulated look. That's what we call granulation there. And that helps you, give a fractured edge, a receding edge, something that's going to, kind of go back and disappear. Or I'll use the tip of the brush softer, and that allows me to put in more solid color and draw things like little valleys and stuff like that. So you'll see me use the brush a couple of different ways. So if I'm coming in here with the light onto a shadow side, I may want to fracture it so that it breaks up, so you get just a little bit here and there of that. But if I'm coming in and I really want to develop the shadow, I'll use the tip of the brush. So, and these fusions are just perfect for this kind of stuff. They work so well for doing that. So you can fraction even the light up onto the light side there, or we could use it more solid here to put a little bit of interest right up there onto that one. But I'm not going to play with these, even though I want to. I want to play with these a little bit more, get a bit more going on, but I'm not going to do too much. Let's put a touch of light back in there. Here and there, a little hit. Sometimes I'll just put that in with some texture too. Here. There, like that. There we go. Just, it just kind of pushes them back in there. They're not done. Of course they're not, because I don't have any of the real good violets in there yet. But it gives me an idea, because this is the blocking in. I'm not really going to paint anything super right now. Let's come in with a little bit more of my violet here. Okay, a good violet that we can use in here to start the forward part of the mountain here. this one that's going to sit in shadow here, and I'll break up the brush marks here to go different ways. We'll come up pretty close to my cowboy, so I don't have, but so much so I don't have to sketch him again. But I want to I do put a little bit into them sometimes, right into them, so that I get a bit of the carrying of color, because I do like carrying color. Let's add a little more water and break this in. I don't do big strokes, because I want this painting to have a lot of movement and interest and stuff. So I'm not going to do big strokes here on anything. Let a little more blue come out. You'll get that. I'm going to take this violet here, which nice and thin here, just water, and it's going to come right down into here. This is my look of the colors. And some people say, "Oh God, you get so messy with it," and yeah, I do. It's not messy. It's a creative jumble of stuff. By being a little bit messy and my colors, going everywhere and doing some of this stuff, this keeps the creativity open. If I go in there and define something way too much, then it shuts down your creative process, because you have, like I always tell people, don't design with too hard of lines. Try to stay where, especially as you go in and start to paint it, where you'll be able to change your mind, and change your mind pretty easily here. Let's put a little bit back down over here. A little bit's going to come in here into the shadows. That's going to be pretty good. We're going to have lots of trees back in there. Let's take some of this blues and stuff and warm this violets and warm it with just a bit of yellows here, or the oranges from the warmer snow. We'll take just kind of an intermediate kind of warming color here, right down in here where we're going to have some of these trees, right down into this area. And I'll do, sometimes when I'm doing this, I will do what I call, and it's really kind of important here. So it's called, I do linear strokes, what are called planar strokes. So I'll take a light color here and I'll show you. And I'll set them in sometimes pretty quickly. What it is, I always talk to you about landscapes and stuff, of finding good horizontals, strong horizontals. Well, those marks that you put in for something like this help you establish depth within your painting. So see, when I come in here like this, now watch this. So when I come in here and I set that stroke following right up there like that, and we'll go up that mountain a bit there, right up there, soften that a bit. We're going to put some tree lines and stuff like that in there. But when I do that, see how it sets it back. So when you put in these horizontal marks like this, that sets that back, because there's like planes, and it's like, always say when you're painting the ocean or something like that and you're setting in your waves, don't set your waves exactly the same apart. As they get further back, they get close. So I'm going to do a couple of linear strokes here, and then I'll do wider ones back up here. But these linear strokes help the viewer's eye move side to side, and this descending bit of it here is basically perspective. So it's pushing that stuff back over onto that one side over there. And, I don't have to do, I'm going to go back up to my 3/4 inch. And I don't have to do a whole bunch of these, because I'm going to put in a whole bunch of trees in here. But this is the one way in which you're painting a snow scene, you can start to see that go back. And so if I take any kind of light, nice, maybe a little bit warm, follow this plane right out here like this of that mountain. Now we're going to cover some of that up with snow, but we'll put a bit of that in there. See, when I put these horizontals in like that, that's shoving those other mountains there further back on that side. Then we'll cover all that beautiful linear perspective up with snow. but you'll get the idea there, okay? So I have some of that. I have some of that coming through here. I'm going to want some lighter, a little bit warmer snow here, so a little bit more orange here, and a little bit warmer snow right out through here. And we'll change this as I paint. You'll see me change some of this. And I'm just going to go right, so I'll kind of see, I'm going to have a run of trees and light hitting right back up through here again. So I'm going to want a little bit of light here also. And I don't always use pure orange. I'll grab some yellows with it as well. I'm going to want some of this right up here into the front there, you know, for his on this side, which is the light side. But I'm envisioning putting a few trees right here, and so basically into these violets, we'll go back to a violet here. Keep touching that ultramarine. I don't think I need ultramarine, not yet. We'll take a violet, push some of that in there right there, and maybe some of this light, and just kind of work them together. See, and I don't want to always go side to side. That makes your painting so stiff. So kind of scrub it in there a little bit right now. We're in the early stage of the painting. And so what you're trying to do is just set up some depth and get where your shadows are going to be and so on and so forth. So let's warm some of this a bit and add a touch of that in through here. We're going to put some trees up along that line there as well. But working the water like this is great because the acrylic dries fast. You get this undertoning done to the painting, and it just really helps you kind of set up, you know, what you're going to do. Now, let's go in. So we're going to have a line. I'm going to have that line of trees, which I painted out. Well, you do them once, you do them again. But so what I'm going to do, I'm not even going to clean my palette here. I'm just going to take some burnt sienna and some greens here. I love those colors. We're going to put them in a real loose fashion here. Some of these, and because we're not going to make trees yet, we're going to paint the mountain again as well. So I'm going to say, okay, maybe I want to keep a little bit of this open right here for a pathway. But what I want to do is just start putting in some of the color here. And I love the greens here. And I want to keep these maybe a little bit more atmospheric back over here where the Christmas tree that he's going to choose is going to come up against. So we'll put some other bigger trees right in here. And so this is just color. This is movement and color, blocking it in and giving you an idea. We can push some of those warms. It's going to be a little bit cooler over here because it might be in the shadow of the mountain, depending on how far forward you bring them. But maybe we'll let that die down there just a bit. Put some snow right there. Push that side back a bit, right over there. We don't know yet. This is just part of it. You're putting it in. Now, I really do want to get some contrast in there. So I'm going to go over here to the clean part, some green and some burnt sienna and some red violet now, which is going to cool it. Give you a deep, darker, cool color here. And I'm just going to play it like this. This is, we'll use this further up into the trees and stuff, but I want to see some shadow tones, what they're going to hear, because this is really, the writer here will be towards the front, so he's going to have a lot darker color than that, but he's going to be towards the front and he's going to be up into the light. So some of these tones here, let's get some more green into that. Some of these tones in here, these nice shadows, just whispered in here, and I know they don't look like pine trees yet. This is going to be the magic of painting. We're going to turn them into trees here. Don't worry about it. They'll go into trees. Let's add atmospherics to this. A little bit of our violet here, right into some of this color, Then we'll lighten it up just a bit, but so that we see some of that, those colors here. And yeah, that might be too light up there. So, and I'm going to go to a smaller brush. I don't want to get too detailed yet, but we'll go to just a littler brush here and keep these colors, get them more to the blues here, softer blues here, and that's just a bit dark, so we'll pull through again. And see, I'm going to leave this broken. This is going to be a few trees up here onto the hill, and that's all I'm looking for. It's just, yeah, that's a good color up there. Just breaking that up, and you see I'm keeping it really, really casual here, so I can adjust it later on and pull that down there just a bit. And that's the way I want to paint it, is really casual. And you sit back there. Now, those of you who paint with me all the time, that's camera 1. It's at 8 feet. That's what I'm going to be painting this for my den, is at 8 feet. And so I want to have a good amount of brush calligraphy to it and stuff to be able to get that depth to it. So that I'm going to want to do. That I'm going to want to have in there. And I'm just going to soften some of those forward violets and blues. Not the same, don't make the same color every time. Try to change it a little bit here. Maybe even add a little bit of this green into some of this. Yeah, see, we'll just paint, soften some of that just a bit. And I love to do this, pull down, pull across here, and create this movement of color, you know, just through this particular area here. It's just color, it's movement here. So that's what I like to do. Let's pull some of that through there. Here. So you'll leave a few of those darks and stuff in there because you're going to need them. But, you know, we're going to paint the hillside here. Some of these are going to go really small here as we start to give the impression of these are just going to be little trees on the back hill. And the smaller we make them, the further back, that's going to push our overall, our overall painting. So it's going to be basically perspective here, putting a bigger tree here, one here, and then smaller little bits of color back out here, up here, that's going to be like trees here. And, and that's just going to, it's going to give you the idea here. And I'm an impressionist painter with this. I'm not going to paint realism. But if I really relax myself, it's really kind of funny. You relax yourself as an artist, you'll get a more realistic look at your trees, and you'll give a more realistic look to your landscape. If you don't try to be perfect, just kind of toss them in there. Let's take a little blue and a little light here, right like this. And see, well, as I'm painting these, I'll be painting some of this movement here, or this nice slope movement here of the snow, right down like this, and in between some of those trees. And we might hit a little bit of light up there by the top, just like a little light struck or something. That's starting to get a bit detailed here, though. I want to put some of that in there, just so I kind of see it a bit. But, you don't need to get wild with it right now. But you see how I hold that brush and drag like that? See how it makes those fractures, especially in like little bits of snow. So we're going to have smaller little trees, little bits of snow. We'll pull some of this down here and bring it right in. And then, of course, we'll pile up some more snow and stuff right up in here as well. And I read that, once with the John Singer Sargent in painting, and he says, sometimes use your brush like a pencil, like you're drawing it. So that's kind of what I'm doing here right now. It's like I'm kind of drawing a pathway here of this coming forward here, where that's going to be. And so you can see that coming that way. Now, let's see. I haven't even decided yet the color of the jacket I'm going to be putting him in. Probably going to be some kind of dark brown or something. But I want to put some of the Palomino in there. The Palomino, I've painted them before with all kinds of colors. Now we're going to be using, they're a yellow base, and we're going to use a lot of violets into the painting. So I'm going to add violets into the Palomino, which is going to be great because the Palomino, it's a complement color to the Palomino, kind of a yellowish, light yellowish color. But I do love painting Palominos with burnt sienna and green. Is one of my favorite type of colors to start them out with here, and giving them kind of a greenish little bit of an undertone here, as a yellow-green kind of undertone here as I'm painting them. And so if I put that down, and then I build my yellows and my warmer colors and everything on top of that. So once I do that, let me just clean this off right here. And I don't need to be specific right now, as you've seen me before, sometimes get very specific, but I'm in what I call the block-in stage of the painting. And so the block-in, I move as fast as I can and quickly as I can without getting bogged down into details. That's why I'm moving so fast. But I'm going to, I can put a little bit of yellow and some burnt sienna here to get to the warmer side here. And I'll just go right through his reins there that I sketched on. I don't know why, but we'll do that. And I'll try to find some of his body shapes and stuff they have. Now, as he comes back here over his big chest muscle, this will be a real lighter stroke. So I'm just going to add some light to that right there, so we see that light plane. And he can go up a little bit lighter, because it's going to dry it a little darker. So that's a good, and when I start to build him, I'll build the structure of the horse, the muscle structure of the horse. That's what I'll actually, paint more of. Let's put a little bit of that light up over here. I drew him with a curb bit this time. It doesn't have I did him with like a hackamore instead of a curb bit. But we'll put that on. Whether or not it stays, we don't know. But I'll change. And then I'll go back into a little bit more of my burnt sienna. I'll look maybe on that one Palomino a little bit greener here. Just a little bit greener, not quite that red. So a little bit of your green into there to soften that. This is the deep shadow here. And we'll go kind of right about in there. Like that. That's that deep shadow. And so a lot of times with the block-in, I don't always follow like a Premier Coup where we start shadows and go lighter and stuff. I just kind of sometimes paint in what it needs as I'm looking at it, looking at the color, setting the colors here. I want to go very dark. So let's go green, burnt sienna, a little blue, and a little red violet. This will be a very dark and allow me to change my tone quite a bit during the painting through those areas. So like I said, this is going to be one of the darkest colors on the painting here as we paint this side right here and the back leg of this horse here, right over here, which is going to be very dark in shadow. It might come out of shadow there as it's going down. The light might hit on the lower part of his leg, so we'll put a little bit there. We'll go a little lighter here before he's going to disappear down into the snow here. The back side of this part of his leg here will go fairly dark, and then it'll get a little lighter going down. And I'm not going to be specific yet on some of the details like his legs, stuff like that. I'll refine that a little bit more. Let's go a little bit lighter here, but still kind of a dark. We'll put his rump on with that tone here, right up there to the saddle blanket. And I kind of sketched him with the tail. I'm not sure you would really see it on that angle, but let's just drop a little color in there, and just because I like them to have a tail. And So we'll go a little lighter right up in here and to the front, maybe down this side if this is where the light is going to be. A bit more burnt sienna, slightly darker, little green. Not quite that much here. Let's go just a little bit there, darker. That's better. And like I say, this is your block hand, and the block hand I am always, I am always willing to change. I always will change those block end colors quite a bit, and evolve the colors of the painting as I do it. So I'll be doing what is called broken color on him and stuff like that to set that in. But already you can see this is really what I wanted, and you can look at that camera there and really see it. Really what I wanted was this nice warm horse standing up into some nice warm snow, and then it gets just cold and frigid Wyoming back there. So that's what I really wanted. Or Montana, whatever your favorite state there, right up in that area here. We'll drop a bit more down. Out here on that, and so I'll work some of that color down there. And see, I'm doing more tonal strokes more than anything else. As I put some of this in, I like to paint in tones. I'll be using, when I go to paint him and soften some of this out and stuff, I'll be using some halftones and stuff. I'm going to warm up right up and through here a bit more, right around that neck muscle, right there. And as it goes into his shoulder here, a little bit darker. So that gives me a good look, where I want to go with him. Maybe a bit more light. And so you can always check, your reference photo there for the structure and but this is the shadow side of him. So the light side of him has really got to go quite light. Those palominos if they get a sunlit onto them, they'll go quite light. So we'll probably adjust this a bit here, and we'll get more greens, yellows, violets, put those all in there. As we block those in, let's go with a little bit of water. I use water because I want it to dry fairly quickly so I can come back into the painting and keep going. So we'll push that right into the big side plane of this. My horses just always, I loved them, Of course, I rode them, didn't paint them very often. I rode them and rode them. I had so much fun the 25 years that I had horses. We have horses out at the farm now, but I don't ride anymore. And I should. I'm thinking, yeah, maybe I should, because I sure did enjoy those years of doing that. But they're a lot of fun to paint and stuff. So let's get up here and let's put a little bit of dark into there. We're going to see inside the ear, and a little bit there, and a little bit lighter on this side because it's actually you're looking inside this. I drew this one inside, so you're going to see more of the shadow there on this one because I put it inside. So that should be a little more shadow because it's actually sitting in shadow. This one's sitting a little more in light here. So that's okay. So see, this blocking like this just gives you some good ideas. Now, I have to decide. This Palomino I really like, if you can see him up there. He's got the white blaze, and I really like the white. I like painting a white blaze on my horses. So I had a big white horse too, but all my horses always had a white blaze. And I like the white blaze here because it's going to allow us to carry the snow into him a bit. So I think maybe I will. I'll put a white blaze down him, and we'll be coming into the shadow here. They have the big, huge, basically the top above the eye socket there, the roundness above the eye socket. So we'll just drop some of that light there And but we'll get some more shadows here. Let's get a little bit more water, a little more shadows and stuff underneath there in that socket. And maybe use your brush on a side plane stroke like this, which will give the up and down motion here to the side of their face there. Your calligraphy as we go to refine and paint this horse will be very important, so you do want to give that side plane. So even if you're doing the blaze here and you're putting that blaze on, or if you're going to give him a little star up here on the top, you know, maybe slight angle down and then pull it down. That'll give a proper movement to his face there. So we'll push that in, and maybe I'll put just a line of a little bit of color. It would actually be darker over here because it's on the shadow side, so I'll refine this. This is not perfect. I'll refine that there a bit. I might narrow down that blaze a bit too. Here. Narrow that down just a bit. Here. There we go. And then you can go into, you know, flesh tone, a real light flesh tone, your yellows and your reds, and some white here, a little more red here. We'll model this all up. We won't overmix it. We'll model it because, again, this is just blocking, but I do like the kind of flesh color here to this part of their nose here. We'll drop some of those flesh tones in. We'll fix that all up, put in all the detail and stuff. But when I start, I like to have the colors just all kinds of modeled there. And this other one has a nice darker muzzle, so nostrils and stuff. So I'm going to take a little blue and burnt sienna here to a darker gray, and just kind of push in the idea here for the nostrils here. Maybe just let's take some of that light flesh, even with the little gray modeled here, and just pull down, which sets that forward plane of his nose there. We'll do that. Sometimes I'll do that. A lot of times I don't worry about that kind of stuff until I get into details and stuff. That's where you really want to get them in, is when you get into some of that details and stuff, So we'll just kind of quickly put him in here, and some of those ideas there. That's pretty good. Now, so I do want to have him come up a bit lighter, a bit more like let's come in onto the light side here. So I kind of want to, in the block end here, I kind of want to find his main color here first, before I leave. And then all I have to do is break it up with broken color. So find his lights and his darks and all that kind of good stuff. So he could come just a bit more of the light, and then I'll move that color through here. So in other words, I'm painting for color, guys. That's what I do here first. I paint him for color here, and then we'll look at it, and of course he'll get a lot more. Don't look at it right now like, oh boy, you're done. No. He gets a lot more. And when I paint the horses and stuff into the westerns, they get a lot. Here, they'll get a lot of structure. They'll get their muscle structure, and they'll get their, all the correct tones and stuff that I like to have. Put just a bit lighter right back there on his rump. Yes, that'll work. We can get rid of that super dark right there. We'll come back down, and this actually joins into his neck right down here. So that big shoulder bit is right up there. And I might have drawn that shoulder there just a bit too high. That's why you do it now so you can block in and you can see. You know, I can take a little bit of violet there and start to narrow that down just a bit. That's better. Just like that. That helps you refine your sketch and stuff there. Let's go with it since we have that nice muzzle color there. That's a real good color to kind of just quickly, even though I sketched on it, I was thinking about getting him a 4-day growth of a beard. I think that would be kind of fun. It's got a little eye there. I'll carry that up. And I was thinking of a darker brown, blue, burnt sienna, kind of a hat here. Also like red green into the browns too. Those make beautiful browns as well. All of those colors, you know, if you can get away with it, all those colors and stuff in there, that's a bit dark. But all those colors, because they'll make wonderful broken color for you when you go to paint them, you know. So let's just lighten that up with a bit of yellow here. But that's on the shadow side. So let's get a little bit of yellow over here. We'll put more detail in that hat later. We'll just drop that in for right now. There, just a little color. And let's go. It gives you a good look. That's the one reason why I like to do this. I'll add all that detail again. Get to draw it again. But this is what I like to do, is just model through, and my edges stay a little broken, a little fractured, not perfect, and you know, I'll adjust some of the colors, tones and stuff later. The underside of that hat would be in shadow. So, and that's how I do it, you know. I don't have any like photo right now that I'm following specifically or anything like that. I've just painted, you know, lots and lots of paintings and studying the light sources and know where light and shadow is going to hit. And after you have a certain amount of experience as an artist, you know what light yellows look like and how to lighten them and cool them and push them back and do all that kind of good stuff. Okay, so yeah, it works really well that way. Let's drop in. You know, it's cold out. He's not going to want to have too much flesh exposed. We'll give him a little bit of a neck, but I want to give him maybe let's do a light blue shirt that'll help pull the sky down. Let's give the idea of a light blue shirt he's going to have. Maybe a bit of the shirt shows up on the side of his jacket there, and we'll go back. Maybe we'll try a little ultramarine blue into this burnt sienna. See, it's a little different. It's a little more grayed, a little more violet-y gray of a coat here. And that'll allow me to do some nice violets in there as well. And I'm just going to, rather than having to mix the light values of it, what I'll do, and this is the beauty about acrylics and blocking in. Let's just take a little bit of water here, push it around, and let the lightness of our undertone here of our board assist us with value right now. And so we can play that around a bit here. So this will be his jacket. I know it doesn't look like much, but I see the color. That's what I'm looking for. So I'll sketch all this back in there again. Let's drop his arm down just a little lower. So that's going to be pretty good. We'll drop the jacket down here over the edge of his pants. And yellow gloves. I have a pair of leather yellow gloves. Let's going to give him a little bit of yellow gloves. You don't see that yet, but let's put a little brighter yellow in there. So we don't forget that. I got all the way to one painting, and I don't want to forget that. I got all the way to one painting and forgot to give him a hand all the way to the end. I don't know how I did that. Let's go with a darker bit of blue jean kind of color here. Both my blues. Usually I paint chaps and stuff on them, maybe not today. Maybe we'll do like a blue jean here. So that'll be the shadow side. I want to get some of these real darks to play against, you know, up front here. So let's lighten this up. We'll play all kind of a blue-gray here. As we could go a little brighter. Like I say, this is the block in, and yes, okay, so yeah, the painting here, the block in takes you like an hour or so. It's a big painting to block it all in here, to get your colors and your tones and stuff in. And but you can see some of my thought processes and stuff through here as I'm building some of this. You know, sometimes and it all depends, you know, on the painting. Sometimes I really kind of get real casual and just wash areas in. Sometimes I do more like this, and let's give him a reddish kind of, we don't have that tone, really saddle blanket kind of thing there. And he's going to have some brown boots. Green and red is beautiful brown. You know, some boots here. Just putting in the color. We'll get more detail and stuff later. Yeah, and lighten that just a bit. So his boots are going to come down here. Sometimes I just do that. It gives you the idea without having. I'm not going to put the stirrups and stuff in yet. We've got a lot of areas to get in here before we get detailed like that. So that just gives me some ideas of where some of that's going to go. Let me grab a bit more dark here. I like that bit of dark in there. And so I'm looking, you know, as I'm doing this stuff, I'm looking for some darks, some nice, really darks that I can use to. I'll have the back of his jacket there. Going back behind him there, we'll raise his collar here too. So, but you can see it, you get some of that in. Now, I also want to let's take my 3/4 inch brush. I'm going to grab some of this colors, greens, burnt siennas, and we're just going to start tossing them right in here. This is going to shock you. We're going to start tossing them in real casual right in here right now. And for the tree, and we're not really specifically painting the tree because we're going to paint through some of this as we you know, add on more stuff. But I want to get, I can even see a little bit of my sketch, which wasn't much, but I want to get some of the color right up here, especially the dark, because that's going to cause everything else in the painting to push back the lighter color. So we'll grab some of that dark here, and you know, it'll allow us to do some edges and stuff like that, but that will just push that tree in here like that, see? So boom, and we get those colors in. So, and I can tell you right away, I'm going to need to get some kind of dark, probably if I push it back up over here someplace, like there's an edge of another one, because I don't like that. And see that how that kind of frames the painting just a bit there? It kind of makes a little tunnel that he is going through. And so I look at stuff like that, and that's what the blocking in is doing. It's helping you refine your story, or put the guy in. Let's put some other little trees, kind of greens right out here, softer. Right out here, bring some of that a little farther forward. This is what it's going to allow you to do, is bring in and push some of this stuff in. So you can kind of see. And so I do it really casual, pushing those colors in like that. And then we'll go in and refine it. And then I'll really want to, here, I'm really, before I leave this part right here, is I'm going to come in and add that deeper violet front shadow right up here. Let's warm that just a bit, but I do want to keep it kind of blue and kind of dark, but it is on snow, so a little bit more blue. Yeah, somewhere in there. It's going to change. Yeah, and so this will be the cast shadow of the horse here. It's going to come out this way. And that, cast shadows are so important. So many times we forget to push, cast shadows in. Cast shadows help them sit on the ground, and cast shadows, here's a nice cast shadow for our tree. Cast shadows add so much to your painting. It's going to allow me up into the front of this painting to play light against dark here as we get going here. Okay, so there's that. You can blur them out a bit or whatever. That just gives you an idea. So you sit back and you take a quick look at it, and see what I'll be doing is looking at my path, my journey. Where do I want to have some trees back through here? Okay, and what I'm going to do is add some of this stuff right back through here with the same thing, with the broken brush, kind of like what I did here, right up here. I'm going to add some of that right back here and stuff, and then we'll come back and work some more. I'll work some more and stuff right up into here and kind of set that scene, kind of like what you see me do in landscapes and stuff, but you don't need to see all that little bit of work there and stuff, but that's what I'm going to do, and then we'll come back and I'll show you some more. So there's your story. That, and that's a good thing to do on all your paintings, guys. That's a good thing to do on all your paintings. It sets the story, thinking about where it is here. So when you look at this, see, it's all coming through here, right up in here. And I'm going to be able to set a real nice story. Now, this, I just noticed this needs to have that cast shadow right over here. If I'm going to put a tree over there, it should do that. But see, what that's going to do is that's going to allow me to have some real light right here, real light, cool, lots of contrast I can develop all up in through here, and it's going to give me a lot of depth and stuff into my painting. So it's a wonderful way to set that up, okay? And then on the next video, I'll do this over a couple of videos. On the next video, I will come in and I'll show you some more of the details and stuff like that. But this works on any kind of landscape that you're going to do. Any kind of landscape, anything like that. Setting the story and looking for your lights and your darks. And look at how dark that is. And look at how much it pulls right up in front of everything. And so that's a good part. We've got it started, okay? All right. If you like it and stuff, make sure you click like, drop a comment and stuff. For some of you, I know Westerns are not quite as popular and stuff. This is going to be a fun painting. I'll take a video break here. We'll come back and maybe I'll put this whole thing up in just one video for you so you can keep it going. You don't have to go hunt that second video. I think that's what I'll do. It'll be a big one, probably 3 hours or so. Okay, but we'll do that. And if you have ideas and things that you want to see, bring that in. Okay, bring it all in. So I'll take a little bit of a break, and through the magic of video, I'll come back and I'll have all this stuff done, and I'll just keep going. Let's do it on one video. Yeah, okay. So we're just going to do it all on one video. Okay, so I'll take a little break. I'll be right back. I'm going to get a cup of coffee, and we'll paint some more. I'll see you in just a minute. Okay, everyone, welcome back. What I've done is I just came through the back and added some more, right in here. I just take a kind of a value 7 or so, kind of a grade green, a little bit of bluish, and I just used the corner of my little brush and I just kind of touched that around. Then I took a larger brush with some lighter, some violets and stuff, and kind of broke up some of that area. Did it a little bit here. I use an up and down and a side to side motion. Kind of works that way. And I use this also for the small brush, to do some of the forward trees. I take some pine green and a little bit of burnt sienna, some of your blues here. Sometimes I add a little red violet if I want it to go, excuse me, a bit darker. And I use the edge of the brush here, and I kind of just get this kind of mark up about the height and stuff that I want, and then I'll push off to the sides. And the thing is, don't make them even, you know, just because high mountain pines and stuff, they grow sometimes heavy to one side and, you know, heavy to the leeward side of the wind normally. And so you can just, you know, vary some of those. And that's what makes them pretty here, to get some of the different heights and stuff here. And just kind of tap them around and work those colors down. And sometimes I like to put in little touches of purer colors in there, like some burnt siennas. We're going to come in and add some yellows and stuff, but I just kind of like to sketch and draw some of those colors through. And of course we're going to put snow on everything, which will you know, change that as well. As I come over here to the horse, I was just adding some of the light color that we did down through here. And this is where I start to look at the muscle structure of the horse. And so I'll start into some of my greens and burnt siennas. I'll start adding, and this is a real good place. You know, I'm almost out of this open medium, out of this container. This is a real good place to start working some of that open medium here. Let's see if I can get it out. There we go. There's a little bit left in there. Almost gone. Gonna have to get some more. And start adding some of that open medium here. And what I'll do is I'll look for the muscle structure, you know, on the horse. And they have quite a bit. They have a big V-shaped kind of muscle right up here. And, oh, I hit that light color there. We'll just take some of that out. And we'll put that V kind of shaped muscle right up there. And so I'll put the shadow in, kind of drawing the muscle shapes here where I see them, and right up in here into the neck here. And this will start breaking up his body as well. And I'll hit that with a half tone of some burnt sienna and some yellow oxide here to soften that in. And I'll use all different kinds of calligraphy. I'm very much into the calligraphy when I paint down, especially when you got a lot going on here with snow. I came back in here, you know, put on a little bit more. You know, the calligraphy is so important. But down his throat here, it comes down the side here. So your brush calligraphy is going to be coming down, rounding just a little bit here, just a little bit. There's that big throat. Comes down here, shadow right there like that, and so it goes in and rounds back out again. So we'll take a little bit lighter here, just touch this a little bit lighter, and I usually just kind of round out for the throat here, just some small little strokes here. This starts to set up his structure for him, and I'll work that into where I have the lights. I like the horses and stuff to have a lot of calligraphy. Let's golden this up. Now, get a really beautiful golden color by adding some of your Darulite yellow to this. And so you can see that golden color that's right there. That's a real pretty. We'll leave a little bit of that shadow in there for that muscle that's there. A little darker. So I basically work all over the place here, and take some green and some burnt sienna here, and get a new paper towel here. Green, burnt sienna, maybe a touch of the blues. And when I'm using just a touch of the blues, I like to use the blue violet, which is the ultramarine blue, because it doesn't go it's easier to use than the phthalo blue when you need just a touch of it. But you'll get that dark, and here he'll have that nice shadow. I'll work that again, that nice cast shadow. So you see all the calligraphy that starts to happen all through here. That's what I really like to add. You know, he's got this big chest muscle, big bulge of it there. And sometimes I'll you know, blur out the edge like I do right there, lose that edge just a bit. We can take some of that color, that dark, lighten it up. Let's take it back down here. Lighten it up just a bit. Pull across this way of the chest, and that will give more width to his chest. So your calligraphy is really important. We'll go a little lighter, that golden color here, and build out some of that muscle right there. So I kind of round that up a bit. But I lost that pulled across there, just a bit more there. So I like that calligraphy. I watch that calligraphy here. And it's a lot of fun to sit back and just kind of build them up according to their muscle structure here. And you can find what was really great in some of the Western classes and stuff that I teach when you're going to paint this muscle structure. You can go out there and you look at, just put up the anatomy of the horse, the muscle anatomy of the horse, search in Google. You'll find all kinds of little charts on it, and you'll see how the muscle's shaped, and you'll see the striations of the muscle, and that shows you basically what it's saying. What I did, it shows you, how to go about stroking the that structure. Just follow the striations of the muscle, and show you basically how to stroke that muscle. Here, we'll drop down a little bit darker here as it leaves that light area. Let's lighten that area right there up a bit more. So right up here we'll have the sunlit area right here. That's where it's going to get hit. But see, as soon as it drops down past the apex right there, what happens is that has got to start to go into shadow. So the sun's coming up, down, hits here, and then it's going to start going right down into shadow here. And so a good half tone of light right through here would be a good stroke down, just dropping that one right in there like that. See, that's a good calligraphy. Sometimes I'll leave just that much calligraphy, into the painting. I like that. We'll put a softening one right here, right there on the edge of that. So that's pretty good calligraphy pulling down there. It's just a little stiff. I might work that, with a couple other tones here. Just break it across there just a bit, and it softens some of that out. We could even go lighter yet onto that light struck. So a little more white. All this palette I'm working right there in the little corner. But it's kind of fun. So I'm going to use up all these colors, putting in now, once you get some of this detail, you're working the detail a little bit more. So now what I concentrate on doing is putting in basically the light and dark and the shadows, the lights and the shadows. And I try to follow the structure of the horse here when I do that. And so there's going to be a little bit more of a shadow, and I love to mix. I constantly mix so that my colors are always changing a bit here. Let's look, that might be too dark. Yeah, it's going to be okay. Put it in that side, a little bit more of that side plane. See the second, third time you go through, let's get rid of that. This little light spots, you might be able to see it there. Those are called holidays. You got to get rid of those so they don't destroy the painting. Let's take, that's a beautiful tone. Let's take that right down through the neck here a bit. Just break that right there. Right down into that shadow there. Touch more. And so I try to find all kinds of tones here in painting him. I like this little reddish tone. Let's put that into the socket part of his eye there. Pull down around his tear duct there. I just clipped his eye a little too much there. But yeah, I'm working those, and that's all you do. And I touch smaller little bits here, and restate and see little bits with this little corner of the brush. Let's get that golden color back up there. Here, and reset that in. And that's not quite golden enough, so I work that around. And then I'm going to work the same. You worked exactly the same type of thing here onto the cowboy, and let's put a bit of that I love to travel a color. Once I find a really good one, I'll travel it around. Harmony. This is the width of his leg, so you pull across there. So we have a shadow and a light, and then the width. You need a couple of horizontal strokes across, just like on this light here. On this, let's grab some of this light. Just like right here, you need a good rounding right here see, and leave a little of that calligraphy. It's like the snow and everything else. You know, it just builds that leg up. We can take a touch of the green. So the shadow colors, burnt siennas, greens, I love those. A little bit of yellow oxide. Makes nice shadow colors. And and you can lighten that shadow color up so it's not quite so dark, but see, it's a little grayer. It's not as, and that's a beautiful tone for the buckskin here, buckskin palomino. The only difference is their mane and tail and legs. And we'll drop a little bit more reddish right into that. Nice little tone for right there. Yeah, so I go back and I build them again and build them again. So, you know, I would be, as I'm building this, you know, I'll look for that muscle shape here and maybe add the shadow in, and then build the light and dark in there to set in that muscle shape right in here. And then go back into that with a little bit lighter, right up onto the edge. And see, each time you do that, see, it adds a little bit more and a little bit more to that horse. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing here now. As I come into, paint the guy, even like his blue jeans. Let's start out kind of there. I'll use a little bit different blue this time. Maybe a bit of both of my blues here. Don't want to get too bright, but with a nice medium tone. His knee is the area you want to bring out, because that's the area that gets the most light, because they have their knees bent, and then it goes down into the shadow as they head down. So if you're going to paint him that way, then you would light up the knee. So I'm going to light up that knee just a little bit more here. And again, I like calligraphy. I don't like it to be blended out here. Let's take just a bit of that up the side of his jeans there. Let's gray it. Beautiful gray for the blues is your burnt sienna, even a touch of your reds here. See how that grays that right down. You can paint the side plane, and I usually, I find the calligraphy pull like the side like this, of the jeans, and then pulling up and across, maybe a little lighter gray up from this way across, and you're going to want to leave some, what we call this, some lights and darks. Matter of fact, we can even go dark. Let's take a little bit of the dark. Let's use a touch of red into that. That'll keep it dark, blue and dark. And you can use that edge of your brush there to set up, a few wrinkles in his jeans, just like I'm going to do into his jacket and stuff. Set up a few here. Maybe up underneath that knee we'll get some. Usually you'll have one or two down the length of the leg there. Model some of these colors together. There, like that. And let's go back. Put a little more light. So you see, I work the light, the darks, and I start thinking, as I'm doing this, I start thinking about adding the details. So here, some little, I paint right up next to the shadow, right up next to those creases there. Bring that knee back out. There, like that. Pulling across and down and there. Back and forth a few times. You'll probably get rid of some of those little wrinkles, and you put them back in there again. And I really want to get that knee nice and light here. Like that. A little draggy up there. But as it goes around, you want to keep some calligraphy. So I want to keep some side plane strokes this way, and so you see all of those little strokes and calligraphy make it look like little wrinkles in his pants here. So you want to kind of keep those. Let's add a touch of those colors up here into his jacket, and his shirt actually. We'll take and you see I paint it just very simply. I used to paint it more detailed and stuff, but now I paint it really kind of simply, and I let the viewer's eye find the shapes that they need. They know what it is. They know it's a shirt here. You don't need to, that's the thing when you're painting like this and very casual like this, that's a tree. You don't need to get in there and make it absolutely perfect. If you do, it becomes stiff, okay? So, if you want to be a casual painter, more impressionistic, you gotta, let some of these shapes go. Don't try to make them absolutely perfect here. So you get the impression. And basically what I do is the light and dark. I just look for the impression of the light and dark. Something. Now, let's get green and the red down here, some burnt sienna. That makes pretty, sometimes a little bit of blue. That makes really nice browns. You can test it, lighten it up, and see what you're getting right there. That's kind of a nice light gray brown for like his jacket. We'll put some more color in now here. So doesn't have much of a shoulder there, Dave. Give him a little bit more of a shoulder before that arm pulls over there. And we'll push some of this into here. You can actually, if you want to be really nice about, put a little bit of violet, a little bit of red, and a little bit of the ultramarine and quinacridone in there. Put a little bit of violet on that side so it's a bit cooler. Here, shadowing. Let's take just a touch of blue into some of this darker brown here. And we'll set that side here. And underneath it, we'll give that collar. Pull that collar up. Now the collar, you see shadow, so the sun's here, so the hat is going to shadow some of his face, and it's going to come down this way. Collar and stuff will be out in sunlight, might be a little bit warmer, so a little bit of yellow right into your color. Think your temperatures always, so a little bit of yellow will warm that collar up a bit. Let's get that a little warmer, a little yellower here. Sometimes, like I did that. Now this is a very, I'm painting with, see that's all fuzzed out. This is a very, very old number 4. And it just will not do any more detail work at all anymore. And so I might want to go to like a smaller little filbert or something here. Not a new one, this is a little bit old too. But that filbert has more of a tip that will allow me to push that edge. See, I can push that edge right up there. Make a smaller stroke by rotating up onto that edge. There. Yeah, I like that. It's a good color. A little lighter, a little warmer. Might even fur it up a bit there. So we might just tap a little bit of our blues and reds in there. Just let's give a nice, like a snow technique, bit over it. And you can see that gives it almost a look there of a nice fur-lined collar kind of thing. A little cooler over on the other side. Think your shadows now. A little cooler over on the other side. Here. So over there be a little cooler. Here. A little bluer, a little blue violets. Here, coming on that side. There. Light and dark. Let's bring that light up just a bit more right there on the edge. There. That's pretty good. And we'll go back into our tan colors here. A little bit of yellow to warm it. A little bit of white to lighten it. We'll put some calligraphy here. On this side, maybe a wrinkle or two we'll put down. A little bit of red and blue to... I like to, you've got a light struck edge there, and right where the sleeve of the jacket and stuff changes from the horizontal right into the vertical angle there. I always like to hit that with a highlight, because that usually does happen right in there like that. And then let's go back a little bit browner here, a little more green. Change the tone a bit. And set that right in there. Go, pull that down. There. That's going to be good. That might, that part of its jacket, be a bit light. So what I do is I hit it a couple times, see? And I find that just, just adds more interest to do it a couple times. We'll get right up there by there. And let's add a little bit of that open medium. I'm doing this mostly acrylic because I haven't added very much of the stuff to slow down the drying time of the paint, because I'm not blending, I'm tone painting more than anything else. But I do love the feel of the open medium in the paint when it's grabbing onto it. I don't need it really to blend in what I'm doing here, because everything is toned. Everything is a tonal paint here. A little bit of, that's the base, and a little bit of violet is so nice on that side. We're going to add violet throughout the whole painting here. But this will give you an idea about what I do with when I'm coming through and just working the details here of a big painting like this, and I just work it back and forth. You can cut it across here a couple times to give the ideas of some, well, that went right into my snow a little bit, but I'd like to blur it. See how you blur that edge there? Doesn't need, I stuck my brush right over there, got a very special part of snow right there. But it doesn't need to be, perfect here. You just will give the idea of where that pocket's going to be there. And that's what I like about it, especially when you step back and you look at it, on the camera there, on camera one, it gets quite a bit more, quite a bit more casual looking, and those streaks and stuff just kind of soften out. You get that lost and found, and that just really works. Let's put this over a little more shadow onto this side here. Just like that. Usually right here at the elbow there's a nice big crease that comes out kind of like that, right where and usually up from the arm here, there'll be a couple of them coming up here like that. Okay, on this other side over here, you might have one right down in there like that. So I go back in and I draw some of those, and then I'll paint some tones right in between those, taking some of those down and tapping a bit and taking some of them down in size. Sometimes on a real big, this isn't a big painting, but on a real big painting, I'll put a half tone in there, softening it out. This isn't a real big painting, so. But you get kind of the idea here, how I go about doing it. And I do it once and I do it again here. Let's take just a bit of that lighter, not warm. So when I'm on this other side over here, I'm not adding the yellow. I'm adding the yellow so you can see the difference between the warm and the cool here. And that'll help you get the idea of warm and light and shadow here. But I love even this little filbert here. Just what size is this one? This is a 4. It works nice for doing this kind of stuff. A little bit on the violet side here. Just a little more violet. There. On that edge, we'll put that. We'll paint his face there and put the shadow on. A little bit of yellow there for his gloves. We can give it a little highlight. So, how much are you going to do detail-wise? See, well, even when you go into the paint like this, you can just almost like block paint, or what they called some of this was like poster block painting, kind of blocking in the colors, and then so I'll block in like the glove, and then I'll add a few other little tones just to break it up. That one is a touch too light, too white. I like the more yellow of it. So I'll just do that. So he's going to be holding his reins there. But you can see just breaking it up. And the big thing is, find your little breaks, the little folds, just put them in and then get light. And now warm this up over to this side. We'll put a little warmth right by that fold and his jacket there. Let's bring back out that point of his shoulder, which I kind of painted down here. That point of his shoulder right there. So this is what I do. Okay, so the video doesn't take too long here, and I got a lot of people that say we don't like the videos over 2 hours, so we'll try to keep this shorter. But that's what I'm going to do, is work the tones and stuff in here, and then we'll come back and work some more on our trees and some more of this stuff. So I'm just going to go back and forth, working smaller and smaller and smaller, more and more and more tones through here as I develop, the horse and everything. You'll see me work small little tones in here. Now I have other videos, full-length videos where I paint the horses and stuff. So look at back there. I got a couple of them on the channel if you want to see some of the techniques there. But when you're painting like this, you see I'm painting mostly acrylic. But you can put some open medium and blend that all out. But try without blending, because look at it from right there. It looks, he looks completely different. And so if you're, I usually paint him for 5, 6 to 8 feet, somewhere around there. So as you step back, they get a little bit softer. Also, you can take a little burnt sienna with some of these colors here. If that gets too bright, or which it can get intense, I usually gray it with, I'm going to put a little open medium in it. We'll gray it with a little bit of your green, and we can put a bit of the shadow here underneath his, for his neck, and up and along the hat line here. We can do that, and I'll come back and paint just a little bit of the face with you there. It's going to be a very simplistic one, but we'll have a bit of fun with that one there too. So I'm going to go back first, though, work this. I might put the stirrups on now with a kind of a brown color and everything, and work his clothes, work everything again, okay? And then we'll come back and I'll show you some more details and stuff on it, okay? Alrighty. Hi everyone, welcome back. So the grandkids called us yesterday afternoon and said, hey, it's snowing out, can you come play with us, and hot chocolate and all that stuff. And so I stopped painting. So I'm going to finish it up here today. I don't always like doing that because it kind of breaks you. And, I'm a solid left-brain, logical, analytical painter, and I know each day I changed it. I changed my feelings and stuff as an artist. So, it will change the way some of the stuff looks. But I think we've got enough of the story in here that I can continue on. There's some things though and it's good to take a break sometimes and step back and take a look at it. Some things I want to do, like I've got to put some more light in on this side of him. I do see that in his jacket and stuff. I got to get that in. The other thing that bothered me immediately when I came in, and it's something I've learned to look for. So if you're a left brain painter like me, you need to learn to look for these things. Is 1, 2, 3 mountain peaks just evenly set across there. That's something that I do. I line little stuff up and we'll make them even and stuff. So I'm gonna change that. Then we're gonna come in and we're gonna work on some of the details. And it's really easy to do, guys. So before I left last night, one of the things I did was I cleaned up all of my colors, took them and splashed them into and put it in some heavier color. I like lots of paint and texture up into the front of the scene, so I don't throw away any of my paint. You can save your paint. But usually what I'll do is I'll toss it in to real thick areas that I want to have some more interest in. But let's come back up over here and let's just change that a bit. And one I also already this morning I made a little bit of violet and cleaned up right against the edge of his face here. We'll kind of zoom in a bit and show you when I go in to paint his face and everything. But I'm going to take some of that real soft blue violet colors here, maybe a little red into that blue so it grays up really nice. Let's take a look. A little more blue here. I don't want to use exactly the same colors, and I don't want to over model it and stuff. Let's just see. I might be a bit dark. Yes, I am. So remember, we wanted to get up around a 7 or so. I could use that. Well, that's pretty much a 7 right there. So let's see what that looks like. Yeah, see, that's that value. So could be, I don't want to be perfect with it. I want it actually to be a little different, so I won't model in that much blue. I'm just going to take this ridge line right here with a shadow. So when you're painting a landscape, especially a snow scene like this, the interest is going to come from the darks. So let's just take this ridge line over a bit like this before it drops down. So that'll we'll start to get rid of that 1, 2, 3 a bit here. And then we'll let that drop right into that one. Let's take this just a bit more blue here. We'll add a touch of that into there. That looks pretty good. We'll add some snow. So I'm a tone painter, and so many people feel that you have to paint in oils. You don't. If you got a good acrylic and you paint in tones, you can come back and add stuff like this, and we'll put in a couple of ridge lines there. You can add all kinds of stuff later on. It doesn't need to be wet or blended or anything. I'm a tone painter. I like to add these different kinds of colors and strokes. And let's take the warm side. Remember, the warm side is the yellow and the white here a bit. Let's just warm up this little hillside right here a bit and let it go right down into that shadow there. We'll just push and pull up. I love just diffusion, just pushing like this and pulling down. It gives you all these little fractured edges that just add so much to the painting there. Let's put a bit more white up there. Not pure white, but a bit more for a light strike area. Right here. Now this will be a little lighter, but it'll dry down. Remember, it will dry down. The other parts of it there are already dry. There, that kind of, I feel better about that. Sometimes I don't notice it until I'm just about ready to varnish, and I go, darn it, it's the darn left brain. But it should be part of a check system that I have to make sure that I don't do this kind of stuff. But we'll see. Let's just, that pointed it up too much, more than I wanted. I'm just going to take that down here with a little bit of violet there. That's better. It doesn't need to be that pointed right like that. All right, that is much, much better, I think. Sometimes I think maybe I should slope that, or just add just a touch of that. That's a pretty tone in there. Just add a bit of that. just to take that back a bit, just to add touch more interest in there. And again, like I say, they're not supposed to be perfect, but now I look at it and I look at that camera there and it's like, yeah, okay, that's better. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, so it's a little better. But now let's come in here, here on the guy, and so I put a little bit more paint on here and stuff last night before or yesterday afternoon before I came in. Let's come in a little closer right into work on this guy. I'll drop it down just a bit and move my palette over. And we'll work into here. Now, I'm going to paint him as a figure. And, you know, those of you that study portraits with me and stuff, when we do portraits and stuff, we put a whole heck of a lot more than we do into a figure. Okay, onto the figure that I have here, I'm going to use a smaller brush. When I go into details, there's a lot of people that will use a round. And for 30 years, I used a round on everything. But I tend to go down to a very small filbert. And the reason why I do this is it allows me to use not only the corner of the brush, which is more like filbert, but I can use the chisel or I can use the flat. And I have two types of filberts that I like to use. One is the synthetic here, which has a little bit more spring to it. So I use this sometimes in the horses and stuff. And on the faces, if it's a small figure, this is a little number 2 fusion filbert. It is a fantastic little brush. So when I do the reins and everything, and you know, I'm probably going to put him in a snaffle bit or something like that. So when I do the circle and everything on the snaffle bit and everything in here, I'll probably use a filbert instead of a round. I use round for it, but I like the fractured and the broken edges of the round. I mean, of the filbert more than the round. So when I come in here to do his face, now we're going to work his face, and then I'm going to work his hat up here. And basically, I want to paint it as a figure here. So first I'm going to take some real soft, some burnt sienna here. And if you want to paint it wet into wet, you can. I'm more of a tone painter, but I'll put out a little bit of extender here and add this. This will work fine. Maybe this burnt sienna, we'll gray this slightly with just a touch of blue. Tiniest bit of blue. We'll cool it, gray it just a bit. You see that? Grays it down. And I always, when I work small, I always prop my hand onto something to help me here. And so I'm going to start first with that shadow side, and the shadow side down his face. Now, to make his face turn, you got to push his nose out, and I know it's hard to see, but push his nose out just a little bit further than than the plane of his face here. And so he looks a bit narrow, so I might just widen him out just a touch more here. So and I'm going to do this very simplistically, so you don't see too much of that nose there, but you know, it's there. Let's just put it that way. It's there. Let's get a little lighter, and usually when I get lighter, especially onto the sunny side, I'll add a bit of yellow to this. Let's get this down. Leave a shadow from underneath the hat. We'll pull some of the face down for his jawline and stuff here, right down there like that. Now, a lot of times I would leave if it's a simple figure, I would leave a line like that, but I'm going to put a halftone. Now, a halftone is halfway between, I'm looking at my light color here and my shadow color, so I'm going to put a halftone halfway between, right into this cheek area here. Pull that down. That will build his cheek just a bit. Simple. Build it simply. Let's take just a bit of that halftone. We'll touch into his ear here, maybe on the back side of his chin there. Now he will have a shadow line from that hat, so maybe so the hat will push that shadow line. Shadow lines and shadows that you put into the faces are really important because they give, a sense of the light. I mean, they show up onto the faces. Now, let's take that halftone, just a bit of it, and his nose would actually come out into the light just a bit there. And I know that looks like a big snoz, but we'll take care of that here. Okay. And when I paint, and those of you who've ever studied portraits and stuff with me, I tend to, and like everything I say, I paint too much, too big, and then I push it back into position. That way you get a nice crossing of the planes, and it works so well. Now, he's tiny. He's really small. I wouldn't normally do this stuff, but usually, you know, in a figure, if I have room, I'll put a little bit of the warmer color that you would see into the cheeks, you know, right into there. And especially, you know, this is a small little face, but it's the winter time here too. That's too much. And again, I do too much. And you know, if you study figures and people and stuff, you know, you would have it out there on the ears too. The ears, the nose, the cheeks. There's some of the, especially the ears. Jansen Sargent always said the ears are the most important to push some of that redness in, because that's the thinnest part. You know, it's real thin little flesh, a lot of blood flow, and it shows that color, you know, color changes the fastest. Let's put just a bit of shadow down here on the bottom of his cheek line there, maybe a bit more into his ear. See, I'm just tapping little bits. I'm going to bring him slowly into focus here, just touching little bits. I want to give him kind of like a little beard here too, a little bit of the shadow into the neck there. Let's take, now I got to soften that so you don't, that cheek, so you don't think I lost my mind here. So let's just run a little bit of our lighter flesh just right into the brush, just real light. Just run it right into that a bit, just tap it a bit, and now you've got that right into his cheek here. Just softens it out, and that's what I want. Is I'm going to even use a little open medium. Open medium, you know, will give a longer working time. I'm not really interested in that, but it does do a little transparency. So when you just touch the edges of it, it'll just almost create like another little tone there on him. Now we'll take some darker burnt sienna first here, a little bit of blue in it. Let's add just a touch of extender here, so I can look at the color, and the extender will keep it wet for just a moment, and I can adjust it if I need. Let's just go in and put in, envision, now his face is foreshortened here, so we'll envision the socket right in here, the eye socket right in there, and a little bit on the other side of the nose right over there. And of course, the more you foreshorten it, and the more the less that you do over here, the more his face turns, okay? So we'll put that in. Let's just use little, because he's saying so we'll go a little bit straight right there for his mouth. Not quite that straight. He doesn't look like he's happy with the Christmas tree. So a little bit. So, and I know it's very small, so see, I tap that stuff in there, and then I'll change it here. Then I'll push it back and change it. Let's take some of that dark though. Let's push that right up here along the hairline, along the shadow of his hat. That works. Maybe right on the top of his ear. Sometimes there, like that. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to that mid-tone light that's here, and I'm gonna push out some of that eye area there to push it in a little bit smaller. You know, sometimes I'll go in and give the details and stuff of a pupil or something like that. We'll put something like that in there, but you know, you're dealing with just a little bit of a thing here. And the other thing is, I'll work it, and then I'll stop on it, and then I'll come back to it. The one thing that you can get frustrated on, and we all get frustrated, okay? You get frustrated on it. You work on something, you can't get it, you work on it, and it's like, oh, okay, well, something's wrong, I don't see it. Go move on to something else, and then come back, it'll see it. Just like my mountains, okay? And especially if you're a left-brain painter like me, you may not see it for a little bit. You've got to move on, and, you know, you'll pick it up later. Let's bring the eyebrow area up just a bit here. So see, that narrows it down just a touch here. A bit of the light, just a bit on the nose there. We'll bring some light back into the edge of his face here. Okay, right back into there. Round this down just a bit. I want to give him like a little beard and stuff in there as well. But I pull basically into the plain stroke. So we have a little bit of color there in the cheek. We'll pull out here a little bit of that shadow down, and some of that color in the cheek softened out, and so I just go back and I repeat it just a touch. And I'll go back and forth like this in little touches of color, refining him rather than trying to do big stuff. You know, I refine him down rather than trying to do big stuff. But let's take a bit of the blue, a little darker here, just the corner. I lost a bit of the eye socket, so I'll put that back in. But just the corner there. And just kind of tap that into there for right now. His face overall is still a little too dark and a little too simplistic, but we'll get there. Here, let's put that lighter little bit, and we've got to bring that eye socket back out again too. That'll come down to the bits, but you know, this is a little guy, a little figure here. Let's just touch that socket just a bit more here. That's better. And yeah, and I'll take that half tone from maybe a little bit of that cheek color here up just a bit higher. Right up there by the eye there. Narrow that down just a bit. Now overall, his facial structure is I'm going to like it, but he's dark. He's too dark, so we'll light him up. But that's the easy part that we'll do. I'll go ahead and just light it up on either side of his mouth here for a bit, and soften this shadow up into his nose. Take out some of his big old snaz here. It's a little straight too. That's all stuff that we can just tap in and take care of and stuff. So, you know, we can do that. See, I love just taking the tip of the filbert here and just tapping in to softening some of that, you know, some of his features and stuff there. But I want to put in some, let's go with some red, green, some browns here. Darker kind of browns, a little more red here. Let's add a bit of the, you know, so we can give him the indication here of some hair coming down and his sideburns. I want to put a bit of that. We need a bit of the roundness here for the back of his head there. And that is too far down for the way it's foreshortened. So we'll change that here. So we'll change this back up just a bit and shorten that back up. See, I'll paint too much of the hair and stuff, and then I start to paint it back out, you know, change it back out. That's how I like to paint. So put in too much and then change it back and stuff there. And I like that brown. Let's put a bit of that brown like into his hat here. I like that darker bit of the brown here. We'll do that. So working the details like this can be a little bit boring on a video, I know, here, but you know, you just see how you work it. And you know, if you do small things at a time, and you know, all of the faces and stuff that I painted over the years, if you do small things, then it's less frustrating. Don't make big changes. Make small changes. And you know, so here I'm even going to take some of that brown that I had there. That blue's, and it's hard for you to see, I know, but that blue's a little bit cold. So let's just touch a bit of that brown in there. And that's a bit better. And but I've got to get his face here a little bit lighter. So I like that burnt sienna and yellow. That's really pretty. You can take it down over here towards this red. Let's lighten it up. Let's get back up towards maybe an 8 or almost a 9, because it will dry down. Work small changes. Start to work small right down here by the cheek where the light would be. Stop up here by where the shadow is going to be. And let's just start working in and lightening up his face a bit more here. And there would be little bit of the light right here before you get back to that ear back there. And let's just put a little more half tone on that ear, round that up a bit. It looks like Mr. Spock here. And I have fun with him. You know, I have fun as I develop faces and stuff. You know, you got to keep it fun. Otherwise, you can just get frustrated trying, especially here, trying to work so small. So you don't have to do great things. He's a little guy, you know, but it is kind of fun to do that. And we'll, you know, I'll look for, you know, on the face, you know, on the true face, you know, we lighten up with what we call the 5 points. And basically it's, you know, the chin, the nose, the cheeks, and the forehead right up through there. And so I'll come in and, you know, start touching in little bits of light, a little bit lighter into some of those areas. I'm going to probably have to paint him one more time to lighten him up again. But across that forehead up there a bit, that's too light. But you know me, that's what I do. I'll blur that off a bit as well. There, that just adds a bit more in there. And I want to give him a 3-day growth of a beard here as well, so that. But see, you got a light and a dark line there. Don't try to blend those down. Just take a half tone, a little bit more of your burnt sienna in there like this, and put a half tone in there until you're past that shadow area there, and that'll work. And then you can add a bit more of that deeper shadow right across there. See, and that starts to put that shadow in there. So, yeah, and you know, in all of that playing around, which it is kind of playing around, I lost a bit of his cheek, so I'll just blush a bit of that back in, which will all sit up in there, a bit onto his ear there. And he needs to have a more defined eye again, because I lost that. So take a bit of that brown. We'll just lightly touch that in there. Don't breathe. There. Just lightly touch that in. And maybe just a touch there to his mouth, into that mouth area. You know, and figures, depending, you know, are hard because depending upon how much room and stuff you have inside that little figure. So I'm gonna, he's not too bad, but he's still too dark. But I'm gonna let him dry up. And that's what I do as I work back and forth. And it's nice with that little filbert because you don't get a pinpoint of color. If you get a little dot of color like you put it in there for the eyes on the little figures are more of a triangle shape. But if you put a little dot in there, and because you're, you know, trying to put that in there with the point of a round, that dot's hard to paint through because it'll come through in texture and everything. And that's one reason why I like to use just a little bit of the filbert here, because it won't do that dot there like that. So it is a little bit different, but yeah, I'll work him here a bit. We'll do that. Now, same type of thing. So, you know, I'm gonna, you know, come back up over here with the hat. I love that brown. I won't make exactly the same here. A little red and green here. And I'll clean up the edges, especially, you know, this guy right here and the tree, the Christmas tree itself, are our story. So I want the edges here, as I'm painting him, I want the edges, his hat, his, you know, right in this area here, the little circle that comes around and stuff here, you know, pull down on that shadow side. Nice clean edges here so that, you know, it shows the story better. Let's warm that with a little yellow, and then we'll lighten that up, and that'll make a nice tan color here so green and red, and then we'll lighten with a little bit of the yellow and white to get that tan color for the hat here. And right up here by the crown, it's got that little indentation. We'll push that up. We'll go down to a little half tone, so a little bit darker, couple values darker, And we'll drop that down for the front of the hat right there before it goes to shadow. And mix up a different little red-green here. And it's slightly different, maybe a little more green. That starts your broken color that you can start through the hat here to get some different looks. On the front of the hat here, there'll be a light strike, usually on the Western hat, right up here. So light comes down and it'll hit this part of the rim there. And I like to take not quite the light, but just a bit and pull down. So I know I'm showing you guys a lot of detail, and for those of you that don't like Westerns, you know, this is, you know, you might not find this interesting and stuff, but I do like to paint these kinds of things. And let's give him a little light colored hat band. Don't always give a hat band, but let's put that with a little yellow here. Hat bands sometimes just add interest in. So we'll just drop one right across there like that. Maybe just a touch of that. And I tend to, you know, this is small, so I tend to paint very just little strokes of color will break the edge of that band there just a bit. So it's not absolutely perfect. I like the broken edges. Maybe just a touch of light right there. That didn't show up too much. But you get kind of the idea here. And here, so without taking too much time, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to come down here. I'm going to let his face dry. It's a lot easier when his face dries. And I'll go through again and put in some more. And I'm going to come in down through the horse, same type of thing. This time I'm going to use a little larger filbert. And so when I start to go to details and stuff, yeah, I use a little bit larger filbert. I love the burnt siennas, yellows, greens for the buckskin color. A little bit of light here. Maybe a bit of the both yellows there. Get a nice light golden color here for the light side. I love all these tones, and I start to look at these tones. But I'll come down and see the synthetic's a little more springy. Allows me to leave more of a stroke, which is what I like. You don't have to paint wet into wet. It's not necessary. You can, you know, because I'm making a tone. I'm painting a tone, and so here goes that light, and I'll drag that off. If I really want to leave the idea of a stroke, I use the synthetic, and if I want a softer look to it, I use the fusion. So the fusion brushes are softer than this. The synthetic can leave more of a stroke. So whenever I come to an area, like if I'm doing a little bit, that's a little too light. If I'm doing a little bit of drawing, you know, let's just add some to the ear here and bring that a little bit more into shape here. So if I'm doing a little drawing or something like that, I will use the synthetic here. And then if I want something a little softer, a little blurrier, then I use the fusion. So a little bit of these colors. So you see, I just come back in again and refine. I'm looking for more tones, you know, slight variations of color. That's kind of the wrong one to put in there. But see, it's the wrong one, but I won't take it all completely out. I'll just use it a bit, leave a bit of it in there. And that small little bit of changes adds so much. You know, I was watching once of the Masters, and he said he was painting this set of rocks across this field with some, you know, leaping antelope and stuff. And he said, one of the questions, you know, from the group asked him, he said, how long did you paint on that? He said, I spent over a week of doing nothing but paint the rocks, paint the rocks, paint the rocks, paint the rocks, paint the rocks. Each time, slightly different tones. And that's really what makes the beautiful paintings, is when you do that. So with the synthetic, I can come in here. Let's add a little bit of extender. Now, extender thins. So usually when I work shadows, I thin. Okay, so I'll come in here with this, work some of these shadows like onto his forward part of his leg here. So you'll see that little bit of that shadow. I'll work this again, straighten up a bit, add a few more little marks and tones and movements, looking for his muscle structure, and smooth him up. Not smooth him up, but get some more color, some more tones and stuff in there. So if I have any kind of rough exchanges, I'll look for halftones. And see, you can do that. So, you have this dark color and light color. If I want to soften that into the throat, I'll make a tone. And it's going to take a little bit of practice for you to learn, how to get that tone in there. What tone? But see, I've done this for a long time, so I know I get that tone. And I use this type of technique with that synthetic. Just it's called the scumbling. It's the Dutch scumbling technique. You don't have to leave a stroke, but you can. But it's a scumbling technique. And so you scumble over that area. So let's go a little lighter right here. And so I'll bring that in, and then I just lightly scumble. Lift the pressure on your brush and scumble like this, and see how it softens it down. I can still leave the movement here now into that, but I get a softer look through that. So I'll use that, especially throughout the rider and stuff, to bring up and smooth out something if I think it's a little harsh between the values. So you can make a halftone in there, or lighten the pressure of your brush and scumble. And a lot of times when I feel I'm real close, but I'm not quite there, I'll scumble. So I'll put in the light, and then I'll lift the pressure on it and just scumble across that a bit to impart some of that light, without having to make a whole bunch of halftones. And then I'll just drop it down here, a little different color, and push that tone in like that. So I get that nice rounding to that chest of the horse, and that's how I work that, okay? So I'm going to do that for a little bit, and do that onto his jacket. You can see that. That's just all I'm going to do, is work those little values like that. I use a combination of halftones, which is right between the light and the dark, and the scumbling, and have a bit of fun. I don't play around with it too much, but that'll help you. So I'm going to build that on him, and then go back and paint his face one more time with a little bit more color and stuff, and we'll come back. We'll take a look at where we are, and maybe even start the tree. Okay? All right. See you in a minute. Hi everyone, welcome back. Well, I put a little bit more on, put a little bit more warmer highlight over here. I might even go lighter down the side of the horse here. I even took a violet color from the mountain, pushed it into some of the areas of the horse here, softening out some halftones and scumbling, working in there. I went through his face there again and gave it a little bit more. I could touch in a little more color. I liked it really rough. I started giving him this little, week-long growth of a beard, and he started to look like, he still does look like Clint Eastwood. And I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but anyway, I just love doing this. I just love having fun with them. I should put a little bit more shadow in here. And I wanted to show you the next kind of techniques I use. So I put this all in, and it starts to bring the color in. But I worked my subject of my story quite a bit. So when you look at that camera there, he's that warmth of him. He has some cool violets, but that starts pushing forward. And what I start to do now is I start working for a little bit of contrast stuff. Let's take that red-green, which I used on his jacket here. We'll add a bit of blue to that. And I start doing some, this is my synthetic filbert here. This is the larger synthetic filbert, the 6. And I can start doing, to pop some areas out, do what I call drawing strokes. So in other words, I do more sketching, almost like a sketching type of technique with some of those darks to increase their shadows, or, because really contrast and stuff here comes from the shadows. But that gives a drawing stroke. I'll leave it, I'll leave I do a very light pressure, kind of a scumbling type of thing, but I love the calligraphy of it that, gives such a great look that I just kind of sketch around. And that's something that, all the great masters always said, use your brush. I've told you in some of the other things, use your brush like a pencil, do these kind of drawing type strokes. And I'm just kind of, working some tones in like this, and this just kind of cleans up some of the areas there. And see, the biggest thing is you're painting impressionistically. So you know this area here is in a shadow. We might even push a little violet, but I don't have to do that much to it. So we might even push in a little bit of violet stroke right down there, just to take some of that violet color back up or around through there. I'm always looking to the violet. See, I even put a little touch of violet there onto the horse. I think probably I will leave his tail there, but we'll do a drawing stroke here. And this is what I mean by a drawing stroke. I get very, just kind of casual. Let's get back up his palomino colors here. Yellows, some greens, a little burnt sienna, lighter color here for his lighter tail. And put a stroke or two down like that of that lighter tail out here like that. That'll just like give his tail there. And if I want to get up here into his, up on the top, I have his mane folded down the other way, but you could fold the mane, out a bit, give a bit more if you want, a bit more interest there. That's up to you. I just, with this video, I just wanted to show you a few of the fun techniques that I use. So now as I go in to put in that beautiful brown is the red and green here, and maybe a little burnt sienna. So as I go in, he's going to have some boots and stuff here. We have some areas that we got to kind of clean up here. And I sketched that once, so we'll have to do it again. But we got the stirrups and stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to, when I come to some of these other areas, there's not a whole lot that needs to be done. We're doing, I'm just going to be doing some sketching. So basically, let's take this a little bit lighter, maybe a little warmer, a little different color slightly. Here, we'll drop this in, and I'll basically draw the front of the stirrups right into some of that wet color there, and his boot will come through there. Will come through that right there. I can take, you can think broken color like a little burnt sienna green, and just touch that down the side, see, and everything. So you get some interest there. Like there's the stirrup. So but it's very casual, but it works. It just works into painting. So those are what I call drawing strokes. I'm kind of, and then I'll come back and, maybe touch a little light, into some areas just with the ferrule edge of the brush here. Drag that over. It gives just a bit of interest there. So you hold your brush real flat. And remember, we hold our brush really flat. And instead of using the tip of the brush, which softens it out, we use the flat of the brush here. I can put in some kind of a light tan, kind of cowboy boots or brown or something like that, coming through here. Just poking through, which they should be, kind of poking through here, up here on this side. You would just pick up a rounding arch of it because you're looking right at it, and it'll come through. And maybe we'll do a darker bit underneath. And if you notice, like with these drawing strokes, you notice I move fast, right? I move fast because I'm not in any of the part of the painting here that is really going to see how that just, it's very impressionistic. It just gets me, all these years I spent studying and anatomy and all this kind of stuff, and then when I paint the impressionism, I guess that it all helps because and you can make the big thing is you can make a confident stroke with it, but it just amazes me here just how much drawing strokes like this really do, for the painting here. Let's take a little more violet into that, darken that down, gray it down just a bit, maybe that side of the stirrup there. And let's see, it just does a lot, and I like that. Casual nature of it. So here I'll put the straps that goes out, and then his leg, it picks up under his leg, so I'll just pull some of that down. Maybe, and if I do, if I want to pop up the edge, I'll use the tip of the brush and do a drawing stroke down, right down there like that. You know, in a more full-blown painting, I would come in and, you know, round that piece of leather right into the stirrup and stuff like that. I'd put on a little bit more, but it's not really needed too much in this painting because, you know, the detail and stuff that I'm doing here on this horse and everything, that's not the story. You know, that's not the story of this painting. The story of this painting is the tree. And so I want to just keep everything as simplistic as possible here. Maybe a little yellow outlining the bit of the saddle blanket there. Oh, that's got a tangent line right there with his leg. So let's take some dirty red and come out a little further here. And see, I just like painting with the dirty brush and very casual like this. And just draw that. Sometimes I just use that edge like this and just draw that edge. And see, it just gives a broken color some interest in there. Pull that across like that. That fracturing of the color just looks like a nice saddle blanket without having to paint too much. We can take that really very simplistic up here for if you wanted to give the idea of the front of the blanket. Just an idea in there. That's all you really need. And that's what I love about the Impressionism is you don't have to, you know, you don't have to work all of the super details that, to me, it keeps it really much like a painting. And I do love a lot of detail and stuff in paintings. I do like that. Well, let's go back to my smaller, and maybe I'll use my little number 4 fusion here. And we'll make that kind of brown color here. A little darker, maybe a little blue. We'll get his bridle on here. Or as my mom always called it, the steering wheel of the horse. So this one has let's put the loop over the ear instead of I do so many of that other bridle. Let's just put a little loop. And so what I'm going to do here is fracture it just a bit. So I'll just pull off and fracture. So I'll use the tip of the brush here, but I'm going to fracture it a bit here. And let's just kind of draw this down, loop down. Just kind of scumble, fracture that a bit so it doesn't have as much power here. Maybe a little bit darker. You know, usually right up here on the sides they put the buckles and all that kind of stuff. So you can do that, and we could let's give him, we'll do a curve bit today. Let's do it a little bit, a snaffle bit, like something like that. So we'll round that in there, give this kind of a loop, and something like that. And I'll make more of a gray color here to work that metal. Here, a little blue, just add a little blue and white to your brush, and just lightly come around. You can go a little bit more for like a bit of the shine here. Just give the idea of the shine there, like that. You know, and again, I'm keeping everything really impressionistic here. Just quick and impressionistic drawing. So just like you would draw with your pencil, Daddy, you're thinking about drawing with, you know, your brush here. So we'll drop that down. Let's take here a bit of the dark right around here, right around his neck, right down into that there. And we'll just, I came off just a bit, so we're going to lengthen the snapple bit almost into a curve bit here. See, I don't let anything just kind of by me, just kind of quickly and set that in there. Now you could, you know, I mean, you could do a heck of a lot more, but there's something when you're painting the Impressionism like this that I really like that. Now let's fracture that a bit. Here we go. Just break it up and fracture it so it doesn't have as much power. You can take a little light yellow here. You want right in here and just highlight just a bit. That's up to you. That's just all interest, you know, how much you're going to add to it. It's all interest. You know, he should be holding the rein on both hands here, so let's make that kind of coming out here. Boom. Just dirty brush, see? Dirty brush browns and the yellows in there, and it just kind of comes in like that. That works. That'll work. We'll just keep that, let's keep that horse as simplistic as possible here. So a little bit more here, just a bit of that up there by his, maybe a bit there. So you can, you know, you see like when I put little hits of light, little shines and stuff, that really adds a lot. Well, now let's come over here. We'll leave it on the enlargement here, and I'll come up just a bit and see if we see all that, and we'll work on the some of the tree. We might want to go back just a bit here so you can see a little bit more of that. And what I'm going to do, so here's my main part of my story. I want some of these colors to travel back here, but I want my darkest and stuff up here. So, and what we want to do is, you know, I don't know if this is almost like a noble fir, you know, tree here. But we're going to just take our, matter of fact, I might do that with my smaller synthetic. You could use a bristle, but what we want to do is we want to put some warmer colors here, some cooler colors here, and then we're going to put snow on it and stuff. So what I'm going to do is work my yellows, and I'm going to model up a lot of this, and I'm going to mix up actually an area here that has a lot of open medium, some yellows. We'll put a bit of whites, not too much white though, because we're gonna preserve that for the snow. But let's get some siennas over here, some more open medium and stuff. And basically what I'm going to do is, you can see I started it in there. I'm going to just come in here with the brush holding very fast and kind of scrubbing, and you kind of imagine, and I've done all different kinds of ways, but kind of imagine some of these kind of going up and out like this. So they'll go up, and I'll just model my brush here so that as I do this, I'll get some different colors coming out here. Boom. Leave some of that dark, but if you lose your dark, we can always add it back in. Okay, we can always add it back in, and less is more on something like this. Don't get too carried away here. Less is more. So, you know, we want to, because we want to just get some interest here, up and down and around, a little bit of burnt sienna here as I come down here. As they come down, the boughs can tip down a bit down here, so they can come out a bit there and then start tipping down here. That open medium is great because it gives some transparency to it, but they start to bend down a bit. This is a big dark right there, so I'm just going to take some of that out here. There we go. And that pretty color. Get some of that lighter green here, out through here. Then as we round that halfway point, as we go around the corner, we'll add a little bit of blues to this. We'll start to, that's going a little fast, so let's go back more to the green. So you'll see a light side and a cooler side to the tree here as you do this, okay? And this tree will get a lot of interest. You can push some darks back up in there here, but less yellows and stuff as you go around this way. Let's get a little bit more right in that front transition here. Some of that, just little touches here. But then we'll add more blues as we come over here, so we get that nice shadow through the tree. You'll pick out some. What makes it fun is you'll pick out some that will, you know, extend beyond the apex or the roundest part of the tree here. And so you'll touch a few lights right out here. But see, I just carried modeled and I use mostly the side of this brush here. That makes kind of a pretty tree. Then you can blur some around a bit. If you feel yours is too strokey, you can then just take, because you got lots of paint there, blur it just a bit, which softens it out a bit, right there like that. I think that's kind of nice. Could use, and you don't have to, once you, you know, let me put it this way. Beautiful art is all about the changing of your brush. So if I feel like it's like too much spiky right here, then I'll pull up and down a bit like this, which will widen each one of the boughs and make them a little bit different. Let's say just a touch of white here. So you can pull up and down. Don't always take your, whenever you're painting your area of interest, don't always paint it just one way. You know, mix your brush up. That's where, you know, calligraphy, that's where we get all of our interest and stuff. Let's make a little lighter green here. And we'll do a little, just a few up and downs like this. So you've got some ideas of the boughs going everywhere, all different kinds of ways here. Makes a nice tree here. Boom, right like that. Then the snow. So I'm just going to leave the green in my brush. I'm not going to make that much a difference here. We're going to make a violet here, okay, which is our snow, which is the snow, the cool side snow. Let's just get a lot, but we don't want to paint always with the same color. This is a beautiful tree. It's a beautiful tree, and we want to change it up quite a bit, right? So let's start over here with some of this violet. Right out over here, little bits of snow here. This is what's going to make all of our trees really pretty. So we'll add bits of the violet. See the cool over there. And you know, you don't have to do tons. You'll start to like it, and like I always say, less is more here. Don't get too carried away. Just use your brush and scumble, and you can pile some up a bit there. Okay, let's pull some of that violet across over here into the front here. Okay, and maybe a bit down here, a little heavier, maybe right down here. It's getting down towards the ground there. If you notice, I move my brush real fast, and that's to get that casual nature to it. So if you're afraid to do it, if you go in there, it'll start to become stiff. You got to do that. And you know what, guys? We make mistakes all the time, but no one ever notices. I never tell you when I went, oops, that's a little wrong. You know, you don't need to advertise it. You know, we all make mistakes with it, but you just keep powering through, because it is the overall effect that we're going for. It's not the individual tree. It's the overall effect here. Here we go. And you can, again, you can push through, soften some of that out a bit here and there. Just like that. Just push through. When you have all that open medium, you have time to just do that. Push and blur it up a bit. So now you got some cool stuff. Let's push my nice thick white up over here. We'll add some yellow to warm it just a bit. That's a little too much. Maybe even model it with some of the violet here. Let's get some open medium in there, so it's lots of time here to work on this. And we'll come out through here. And we'll let some of that, see, it's just maybe a touch lighter. You know, you can do a couple layers and stuff here, but we'll push some on here, kind of smear it around a bit, but let some of that broken color there sit. That's what's going to make it pretty. Now, our boughs go up, so our snow should go as well. Here, just like that. There, a little bit, and you can pile some up. You know, you'll see it where it's on the top of the bough there. You can pile some up. If you really want to get detailed, pile some up. Give a little violet to one side of it, so it's got a little shadow side to it there as well. Okay, so we'll just, I'll take my time here and pile that up. Here, just like this, and around. And lots of open medium. You can use a little extender, but I like it. I like that when I do this, I like it a little thicker. And I want to, the biggest thing is try not to set up a pattern. Just kind of imagine the snow hitting there on the tops of these boughs, piling up on them a bit. Okay? And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit down here for the next 10 or 15 minutes. You don't need to watch me do all that. And just pile up some snow, and then I'll move back. We'll move back into the back of those trees back there, start piling up some snow. Then I'll come back and show you some highlights and shadows into the fallen snow. Okay? Alrighty. I'll see you in a minute. Hi everyone, welcome back. Well, I snowed that one all up there and then slowly pushed it back in here. Some places I got a little bit too much, and so what I did is just take a little bit of your darker greens and just kind of push and smear up into there, and that works really well. And then I started to add some violets and stuff back here, and now I'm just doing the lights. And all I did was, you can see it's really thin. I'm using a larger brush, and it's really thin, and there's a little yellow, a little warmer color, and I'll touch that around just a bit, changing your colors a bit, just hitting the edges of imagining little light colors and dark colors, and I'll smear it a bit to soften it out here, because this has got to be very impressionistic. So I don't want a whole bunch of brush work right out here and just heavy piles of snow. That won't work too well for me. So I'm going to go just a little lighter, but it's very, very thin out here. That's the thing. And I thin it with some extender. And I use this just to drop in, well, just some ideas here like this to of the snow, and we'll kind of smear it around a little bit. As the trees and stuff get into the back, you know, you can just use a lighter. So see all that still has interest, but yet this is your center of interest, and that's what you want to concentrate on more than anything else, is that center of interest there working through. You can use a small brush, but a small brush generally doesn't put it on quite as soft. So I'll push it on, push it around a bit here, just hit some areas of it. And you can blur it. You can take a soft, bigger brush like this and blur through it like that. So, you know, you makes it softer. You can use your hand. I like to use my hand as well. Push through some of that. And if you take out too much of your greens and stuff, just put some in and then just come back, push through here, and that will soften some of them out. Or you can always, like if you get, since your acrylic, you know, that one back there got a little heavy, and since your acrylic, you can always take your solvent and take it back out that way too with your solvent here. A little water right into your brush, and that'll take that right back to kind of where you were there. And, you know, remember, it's very easy to get wrapped up into like these little trees and stuff, but that's not your center of interest. You know, that's not what we have going on here. You know, this is, this guy right here is our center of interest. So, and I like to keep reminding myself of that, because you can get focused into painting something, you know, a lot more. Now, let's just use up a bit of our colors here. Use some open medium, some of our nice violets here. Let's work a bit more of our violets through, softening things out here. We'll work those right up into our greens and blur those in here. right in, because this tree's going to go right up into the snow, which I'll show you in a second. Put some half-tone violets in here, and just move that around where you want to see. Let's use some of that open medium here. Maybe pull some of that right on down here. Slightly different color here. Working your snow several times is what gives it so much interest and beauty. Let's get a bit more blue into that here. You don't want to make a rainbow, but it's just kind of pretty to get some of those. And even though I'm going to cover some of this right in this area here, I'm going to work a snowbank or two back up into those trees here. Even though I'm going to, put the lights on and stuff like that, I put this on because I can stop and make little highs and lows of the snow, like little hills and valleys and stuff here. As I push some of that on there, make sure that horse and rider really comes forward there. I just, working the snow like this, I just do it just lots of times because it's got to get lots of interest, and I use lots of paint. Lots of paint. Let's get that nice warmth, little yellow oxide in there. Let's do some real thick stuff here first, right up in here. Just thick movements of the paint, see? And try to overlap your strokes a bit so you don't get so you don't see completely the brush mark. You just see the movement. There's a little grungy there. Here, just see that nice movement. Sometimes I'll pick up that light here. Just pull that down. Let's take, as I go back, I tend to thin. Not always, but I tend to thin, because I like not to have quite as much power as the front here. But we can just tap the edges to give some movement and stuff to the snow there. That's going to make it really interesting. And you really, and I've got all this paint on my palette. And that's the other thing, is I'm not using, tremendous, as far as paintings go, I'm not using a tremendous amount of paint here in painting this. And it's, a lot of people will say, oh God, you just waste so much paint. No, you don't. Rembrandt put it on 1/4 of an inch thick, so we can get it on here. And that's what gives the interest, especially up to here. And we'll model through and tap and create. You could create the horse prints back through there if you want. I don't think this painting needs it, but you could. Let's get a little light and dark and just movement of the snow. You see, that just adds so much. But get some paint out there. And don't be afraid to apply it here. Usually with this kind of stuff, I'll do it several times. Let's take a little sienna, burnt sienna into that, just to add a little bit more of a grayness to that violet. So work the colors there. See, that's what makes it all pretty, guys, is getting the colors in there. Maybe a bit of our yellow and light right in here with that, right on the edges. You get all these beautiful colors into your snow. And sometimes I'll push them around and move them around like that. Once I get a nice bit of paint on the surface there, I'll push and move it around. And that gives highs and lows. See, it gives highs and lows to the, and you want to see that, like some, maybe a little mound of snow goes up a little higher and, doesn't get hit by the shadow, so. Yeah, there's just, have some fun with it. And when you're painting like this, let's just go right through that horse hoof there. We'll do a fractured edge of the snow on the horse's hooves here, right over his legs actually, because he's up almost to his knees, just like that, and makes him look like he's standing in some snow here. Get a little more texture here. Let's get rid of that glob. This a little bit more texture some more fun things into the snow right out here. Right up in the front up here. Let's grab some of this little warmth right up here. Right across. See, that just, see the interest that adds, and you can blur it out here. But it just adds a fun bit to the painting itself as you paint the snow. And you can go back at any time and just say, well, maybe I want to see a little bit of a shadow right out through here. Here, boom, just a bit. Maybe a bit of a shadow right out through here. Boom, let's put a bit right up in here. Just pick up a bit of that there. You can, again, make like little tracks going back, like that's where he came in. You can do that. Build like a little pathway there. Like that's where he came in. Now, it's a little bit dangerous in that, again, it's another thing of interest. So, I never finished his back legs here, but I should probably finish his back legs there. I didn't finish that. That's just me. I get going, and here we go. And, if you're making like little tracks, put on little highs and lows there. Just fun, just all the little interest stuff that you can do. So, see, it starts to make it look like he was walking here forward, here. Highs and lows, a little bit of the cast shadow there, still there. And just makes it fun. Now, I was thinking that of using the spattering to make it snow. And I think I'll do that. And snow, you use this, spattering and stuff. We'll try this. We'll, I used it mix it up right in here. So I don't want it just pure white. You want to thin it out. But I use it for waves and splashes and stuff like that. And you take a larger brush and you thin. Now the thinness that you have here is going to determine just what the spatter is going to look like. And so the thinner the color, the bigger the dots you'll get. So here, so I'll go out a little thinner. Look to this. Fusion is not a great brush for this. It needs to be a little bit more of a stiffer brush, but we'll do it. We'll get it done here. Let's just see. So just drop this around here like this. You can see, and it'll make it. And then you can take it off any place that, like his mouth there. You could take it off and hit, and it just makes it going to look like it's snowing here. Here, we'll just drop some over here. Here. And yeah, and so if they get a little bit too drippy, it's best to do this actually with your piece held flat on the ground. But then they won't drip on you and stuff. But then you can see, yeah, you get a pretty nice, and you can use a different size handle here to make different sizes as well. Smaller handle will make the smaller bit, and you just kind of flick it around here a bit like it's snowing. Nice Christmassy bit here. Different. I like the different sizes. I need a little bit more here. Now, don't make a blizzard. Just because it's fun doesn't mean you make a blizzard, okay? But you have some fun with it. That's going to be pretty cool. I'll go back and I'll finish up his legs there. Put some of the lighter color there and finish up. We don't need to be too much here, but we'll finish up his legs there a bit here, and then I'll pretty much call this painting. I'm just going to keep it kind of soft like that, and little snow. That little snow just adds little sparks and stuff, and I kind of like that. Hope you like it, and enjoyed it. I know I went a little bit longer than most of you that the surveys and stuff I've done here on the channel, you like no longer than 2 hours and stuff, and so we're going to go over that a little bit maybe. But I just wanted to give you a nice flavor for what it is that I do. I probably will put a little bit more light right in there and pop him up just a bit more. But I wanted to give you a little bit idea about, what it is with a scene like this and how I go back and set something like this. And, there's just all kinds of just fun ways, to paint these scenes and the westerns, and they give you just a really nice story. So, but I hope you enjoy it, and I'll look forward to painting with you again on another one. If you do enjoy it, make sure you click the like. Make sure you like the comment. If you want to see something like the full westerns, on the westerns that I teach over on our online classes, I show the whole thing. So they're 6-7 hours worth of video in the classroom and stuff. But here, let's take just a bit off of his face there, and but if you want to see some more, then make sure you hit that like button. Okay, thanks so much, and I'll look forward to painting with you again. Those of you that are in the that are on the membership that support our channel and stuff, I'll put we'll put a link to I'll put a drawing up. It might be a couple days and stuff, but I'll get a link up with a drawing of this main area here to help you with some of your drawing, if you want to then transfer that onto pattern for those of you that want to paint it. Okay, so we'll put some of that information up for you to in the community tab. So we just keep your eye on the community tab, and so if you want to paint it, you can give it a try and see if we can get it done by Christmas. Okay, I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks so much. Bye bye.